right, Mark, what do you think? Should I go ahead and mute everyone or?
Yes, let's do that.
All right. Okay, we are ready to go. Mark, you're co-host. You can unmute, right? You're muted now.
Yep, now I'm unmuted. Welcome everybody to Lit Balm number 53. Only 3 more weeks and we've done a full solar revolution. Hopefully in amazing poetry and great encounters here in this sort of virtual world. And thanks so much, New Orleans Poetry Festival, for co-hosting this show and the next with us. We're delighted to be part of this. I just want to ask Bill Lavender, do you have anything you wanted to say?
Bill, you're unmuted, but we still can't hear you. Is your microphone off? All right, Bill can't get it working. But let me go ahead and say that, you know, Lit Balm is always free, but for the New Orleans Poetry Festival to be free was a really big deal. And we need to go, we want to go ahead and thank our major sponsors, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation and the Academy of American Poets. They gave us grants to make the New Orleans Poetry Festival free all month. If you go to nolapoetry.com, you'll be able to see many more events, including the next Lit Balm. And yeah, we hope you can make some. There's one at 7 p.m. NOLA time tonight. That's 8 o'clock Eastern, The Transgressive Spirit of Jewish Poetics, which I think will be fantastic. Yeah, and I'll turn it back over to Mark.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. Well, now we segue over into our readings, and first the 3 of us, co-hosts. I'm going to introduce Jonathan Penton, who founded Unlikely Stories in 1998, an electronic journal of literature and art. Since then, he's lent editorial and management assistance to many literary and artistic ventures such as Mad Hat Inc., the New Orleans Poetry Festival, Rigorous, and Big Bridge. In 2005, he founded Unlikely Books, which publishes 3 to 5 books of poetry a year. He's organized literary performances and performed himself across the United States. His poetry books are Last Chap from Virgin Press, Blood and Salsa and Painting Rust, Prosthetic Gods, and Standards of Acidity, which came out in 2016 from Lit Fest Press, and the free e-chap book Backstories, which you can download from Argotist ebooks online. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark. So I'm going to read one short poem. I've been working in the New Orleans sculpture garden, trying to write a bit of a crestus on every sculpture there. I'm trying to get one good poem for each sculpture, and some of them are coming out a lot easier than others. But I'm going to go ahead and read this one. It's based on the Heroic Man sculpture by Gaston Lachaise. My skull is very small. Everyone notices. People describe me as having a wisdom of the body. In some mouths, that means I'm beautiful. In all mouths, that means I'm a fool. Now I am scarred, covering one arm, both shoulder blades, down one scapula. Now the wisdom of my body is keloid. My skull no longer houses the windows to my soul. Thank you. All right, I'd like to introduce our other host, Cassandra Atherton, dialing in from Australia, where I believe it is 7 a.m. Yeah?
Yeah, 7.
All right. Cassandra Atherton is an award-winning writer, scholar of prose poetry, and professor of writing and literature in Melbourne. Her most recent books of prose poetry are Pre-Raphaelite, Leftovers, and Fugitive Letters. She is currently writing a book of prose poetry on the atomic bomb with funding from the Australia Council. It's a wonderful book. Looking forward to it being released. Cassandra co-wrote Prose Poetry, An Introduction, and the Anthology of Australian Prose Poetry. She is commissioning editor for Westerly Magazine. Cassandra, will you read a poem for us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a poem that has a few Spanish words in it, so I plan to mangle it today, but I'll try my best. It's a prose poem because I only write prose poetry, and it's called Hotel Opera Hexameter. He takes her to the Museo del Prado, and when her eyes are fatigued, he orders cake and agua con gas from the museum cafe. They return to the hotel and turn on the jacuzzi, adjusting the bubbles so they erupt in bursts around their waists. Quietly, she touches one foot to his and closes her eyes. She conjures las maninas eating pulpo con espuma de patata to at En Busco del Tiempo. The Infanta asks them to join her, but he turns and says, somehow she looks like my daughter when the light from the window is framing her. I would like to introduce the amazing Marc Vincenz. He is an Anglo-Swiss American poet and also Walt Whitman, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He's published 14 books of poetry, including more recently, Becoming the Sound of Bees, Leaning into the Infinite, The Syndicate of Water and Light, and Here Comes the Night Dust. Vincenz's newest collection, The Little Book of Earthly Desires, and a novella set in ancient China, Three Taos of Tao, or How to Catch a Fortuitous Elephant, are both forthcoming in 2021 from Spite and Dibble. An album of music, ambient, and verse, Left Hand Clapping, is also forthcoming from Tree Torn Records. Vincenz is also a prolific translator and has translated from the German, Romanian, and French. He has published 10 books of translations, most recently Unexpected Development by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Merz with White Pine, and which was a finalist for the 2016 Cliff Becker Book Prize in Translation. His translation of Merz's selected poems, An Audible Blue, is forthcoming from White Pine in 2021. His poems have been published in many amazing journals, including The Nation, Plowshares, the Los Angeles Review, World Literature Today, Raritan, Asymptote, and Plume. His work has received fellowships and grants from the Swiss Arts Council, the Literary Colloquium Berlin, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Witter Brenner Foundation for Poetry. Vincenz is editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He has lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but now he lives on a farm in rural Massachusetts overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain. And my favorite part's always the end of Marc's bio, because he always changes it up for the regulars. And this week we have more ruffled grouse, turkey buzzards, and mourning doves than people. Marc, please read for us.
Thank you, Cassandra. This is a kind of a prose poem from my new book that I'm working on called Coalition Number 9. And it's called All Our Horses Drawn and Quartered. The president always knows best, says Trudy. I can't resist saying, who's fooling who? She's chopping off fish heads in the kitchen. A mouse scampers by, rounds the corner by the orange linoleum. You can hear its feet sticking until they're no more. Trudy, too, the cat, will surely be waiting at the confluence of the restroom and the guest room. The guest room is where she lures them all in. But lucky we don't have to rely on rations, you say, entering on a pirouette, kissing Trudy's fishy cheeks. Streams of light pour in from outside as a truck passes by carrying the dead. A fish head falls to the floor, spins on its eye. When you pick it up, it leaves a yin-yang of blood and mucus. You lift it up and hold it to the light bulb, I'm sure deeply trying to see what might be inside. Then rub away the fish head tears and decree, this is a good day to be alive. We hoist ourselves on a rope to the rooftops and watch the coal-soaked stars appear as they do through the clouds of smog occasionally. We kiss fish to fish thankful all our thirsts have been quenched. Thank you. And so now we move to the feature. And today we have a special feature, which is Dominican Night in honor of Rhina Espaillat. And Rhina, who is the guest of honor, will be reading 4 poems in English. And in addition to Rhina, we have Juan Matos, and we have Soledad Alvarez, and Jose Enrique Delmonte, and our translator, Susan Dickey. It's going to be an amazing show. But let me start by introducing, I think both Rhina and Susan. Susan will be translating as we go along as well. First, Rhina P. Espaillat has published 12 full-length books, 4 chapbooks, and a monograph on translation. Her most recent publications are 2 poetry collections entitled And After All and The Field. She's also published a chapbook in collaboration with fellow poet Alfred Nicol entitled Brief Accident of Life. Rhina has translated into English St. John of the Cross, and into Spanish Robert Frost's Algo, Ay que no es amigo de los muros, something there is that doesn't love a wall. She's also translated a bilingual collection of Richard Wilbur's Oscura Fruta, Dark Berries. Her writing, which comprises poetry, essays, short stories in English and a native Spanish, and translations from and into both languages, appear in many, many journals and anthologies and websites. She's received many national and international awards, including the Richard Wilbur Award, the Nemiroff Prize, the T.S. Eliot Prize, and several annual awards from the New England Poetry Club, the Poetry Society of America, the Frost Foundation, and honors from the Dominican Republic's Ministry of Culture, and a Lifetime Achievement in the Arts Award from Salem State College. Rhina is a founding member of the Melopoeia trio, and Rhina performs with poet Alfred Nicol and guitarist John Tavano. She's also performed with a quintet known as the Diminished Prophets, which includes vocalist Kate Sullivan and cellist Roger Kimball. Both musical groups have produced videos and performed at schools, colleges, libraries, and cultural centers. And now a little bit about Susan Dickey. Susan Dickey is a US-born architectural historian, academic society director, academic researcher, and translator. Her interests include fine art, poetry, and poetry translation. Some of Susan's publications include Italian aristocratic and vernacular influence, Biblioteca de Cenide, Sicily, and Schinkel and Northwest, also from the same publisher. And then Carl Friedrich Schinkel, aspects of his work from Edition Axel Manger from Stuttgart in 2001. Susan has lectured at many universities, including Università di Palermo, Università di Catania, Internationale Bau Academy Berlin, and many more. Her translation of Jose Enrique Delmonte's collection, La Rondez de lo Posible, Roundness of the Possible, is forthcoming from Madhab Press this fall. And so with that, I would like to ask Rhina to commence this evening's festivities, if I may. We need to unmute Rhina. There we go.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm very glad to be here with all of you.
Likewise.
This first poem is fits this program because we're swimming in translators. And this is called On the Impossibility of Translation. Of course, impossible. Transmuting touch and color into sound, sound into sign, sign into sense again and back. Too much struggling after the names for flavor, line, knowing they can't be found. No, not in one language. In two, across the grain of speech, unthinkable, easier to fold the sun into its syllable. Yet lovers, each mute in one skin, can learn to speak in tongues, speak themselves whole, if only once. You've heard, fitful above the fields, the summer sung in high cascading turns of fluent bird, and seen in shallow pools in every town how rain translates the sky and writes it down. And this second one is called Early Birds. Early birds. Some have returned from where they go for warmth in winter, though the air still glitters here with hints of snow. They should have waited until fair weather restocks the neighborhood. 3 hungry hawks circle up there with motives clearly understood. But these small transients seem to come home with no thought of their own good, uncalculating, out of some compulsion, much as newborns do, mustered by an interior drum. Report now and be done unto. See how the flock scurries and pecks, observed by the high, silent few, at the cold ground where scattered specks reprise the season's meager crops. Above the trees, powerful necks swivel to aim, and then they drop. So nature is not always kind and loving. Here is Guidelines, which is another villanelle. I'm addicted to the villanelle. I'm addicted to forms altogether, but villanelle is one of my favorites. Guidelines. Here's what you need to do since time began. Find something diamond rare or carbon cheap, it's all the same, and love it all you can. It should be something close, a field, a man, a line of verse, a mouth, a child asleep that feels like the world's heart since time began. Don't measure much or lay things out or scan. Don't save yourself for later. You won't keep. Spend yourself now on loving all you can. It's going to hurt. That was the risk you ran with your first breath. You knew the price was steep. That loss is what there is since time began subtracting from your balance. That's the plan. Too late to quibble now. You're in too deep. Just love what you still have while you still can. Don't count on schemes. It's far too short a span from the first sowing till they come to reap. One way alone to count since time began. Love something. Love it hard. Now, while you can. And let me see, where's this other one? Well, after Susan has had her turn. Susan?
Well, I'm translating a poem as a reading a translation of a poem by Soledad, but the Soledad chose.
Susan, I think you're still on mute.
I am still on mute. Soledad, did you want to read your refuge? Or maybe Juan Matos. I'm just translating. Rhina, I haven't chosen poems. I'm just translating.
What was that?
I haven't chosen poems.
Oh, you haven't.
To read of yours. Perhaps I should have. I was concerned about time.
Well, according to the schedule, we have Juan Matos reading Rhina now.
Yes.
Oh, I'll read something. I have something here.
Susan, we are getting an echo with the both of you in the room.
Rhina, are you still on? Okay. I'll read a poem. Beautiful.
Can you ask Rhina to mute on her side?
Could you mute dream? In a dream last night, all up and down, I drove a horse and carriage through my hometown. My body slept, lay here at rest, while memory flew toward its old nest. No flesh, no bone, wind-blown and hair, bare, like words that dress themselves only in air. One playful girl, one frisky colt, one rusty wheel squealing with every jolt. Under the spell of night, deep where dreams drown, riding a carriage through my hometown. In the cool shade of our orange tree, I passed a flock of cousins, aunts 2 or 3.
Very nice, Susan. I'm now going to introduce Juan Matos, who has a very distinguished career. He's a Dominican educator living in Lunenburg, Massachusetts. He emigrated to the US in '85. He's the author of numerous collections of poems. His most recent are The Man Who Left, El Hombre que se fue, Sugar, Cape and Port, and the audiobook Azúcar, Cayo y Puerto, La Epopeya del Bate Central, Barahona. His works have appeared in numerous anthologies and literary magazines. He's currently Worcester's Poet Laureate 2020 to 2022. He develops extensive cultural management in community and academic centers promoting poetry readings, teaching, creative writing workshops. Also, he's part of the Tertulia de los Miércoles, which presents weekly virtual encounters with writers and artists. Matos has been a founding member of Palabra Expresión Cultural in New York City, Grupo Cultural Hostos in Worcester, and Tertulia Pedro Mir in Lawrence, and Casa Cultural Dominicana de Worcester. He's a member of the advisory board of the Latino Education Institute in Worcester. He's also a graduate of the Universidad Autónoma de Santo Domingo with a bachelor degree in chemistry. He's completed a master's degree in elementary education at Lehman College in the Bronx in New York, and a master's degree in bilingual education at Worcester University in Massachusetts. He studied literature at the Complutense Universidad de Madrid and the University of Alcalá de Henares in Spain. He's a retired educator after 32 years as a bilingual teacher and professor of advanced Spanish and literature. Through his cultural and educational activism, he's received many recognitions, among them the Key to the Worcester City by the Mayoral Office, Father Miguel Barafo Legacy Award by Centro, Worcester Latino Dollar for Shot Scholar, and a Dominican Republic Consulate of Boston Certificate of Recognition. And also a citation by the Massachusetts Senate. Welcome very much, Juan, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so very much for having me tonight. Thank you for organizing such a wonderful event, Susan and Marc, and the Lit Balm and New Orleans Poetry Festival for having us, and especially having the Dominican night in honor of our beloved Rhina Espaillat. As we call her, Mother Rhina, in a colloquial Dominican way, Rhina Mai. I really thank you for this opportunity, and it's such an honor reading Rhina Espaillat poems. From her book, Water from Two Rivers, Agua de Dos Ríos, I'm going to read Next to Last Son. Singer of mortal songs, in flight from kissing to kissing, where shall you go when your nest made of flesh and bone is missing? Harp of 5 strings that play, in praise of this borrowed light, what hand will caress you then, fallen to endless night? Oh, setting of Cooper's suns, ocean of steels and tin, oh moon that goes grieving by, bleeding a silver skin. Oh, maples that half dress in bronze, sulfur, scarlet in the wood, tongues of flame that sing today, tomorrow silent for good. That was the first of two poems. And the next one is You Call Me by All Names. You call me by all names. How strange to think of family and blood, walking through flakes up to the knees in cold and democratic mood. And suddenly I think of people dead many centuries ago, my ancestors who never knew the dubious miracle of snow. Don't say my names, you seem to mock. Their charming foolish all the world touch. Call me immigrant or social security card such and such, or future citizen who boasts 2 eyes, 2 ears, a mouth, a moth, but no names from another life, a long time back, a long way south. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Juan. What a great reading. And just to let you know, once again, these are 2 poems by Rhina Espaillat. The first one, Canción Penúltima, Next to Last Song, which is from her collection, Water from 2 Rivers, Agua de dos Ríos. And the second one was Con Nombres Viejos Me Llamas, You Call Me by Old Names, also from the same collection. Thank you so much, Juan. That was fantastic. And now we'd like to hear from Soledad, and I'm going to let you know a little bit about Soledad. Soledad was born in Santo Domingo. She's a poet, essayist, studied Latin American literature at the University of Havana. In 1980, she won the Siboney Essay Prize with the book La Manga Patria de Pedro Henriquez Ureña. Soledad has won the National Poetry Prize on 2 occasions, in 2006 with Las Estaciones Íntimas, and in 2016 with Autobiografía en el Agua. In 2015, she was awarded the Cano Nabo Prize. As an essayist, she has published Complicidades, Ensayos y Comentarios sobre Literatura Dominicana, De Primera Intención, Essays and Commentaries on Literature, and Dominican Republic, Pasaje. In collaboration, El Siglo X, Dominicano, Económica, Política, Pensamiento y Literatura in 1999, and Cultura y Sociedad en la República Dominicana from El Siglo in 2000. As a poet, in addition to the previous books, she published Vuelo Posible in 1994. As an anthologist, she's published the books La Ciudad en Nosotros and Santo Domingo, Visiones de la Ciudad. She was director of the magazine País Cultural. Her poems have been translated into English, French, Italian, and German. Welcome, Soledad. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Marc. Susan, Jonathan, well, here from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Rhina's country. It is a really, really honor for me to participate in this homage to Rhina and her wonderful, wonderful poetry. I'm going to read a poem titled, I read in Spanish, of course, titled Refugio. Cansada de afanar con poca cosa, mesa y mantel, copas, y vajilla para el tropel familiar recién llegado. Se refugió en el jardín, buscando ansiosa paz y silencio. Por la ventanilla notó la luz de miel que habían creado con su zumbar de abejas. Qué callado, en cambio, el cielo. Estrellas, una astilla de luna y nada más. Pero el gentío ya la buscaba. Toda esa pandilla, esa incansable colmena escandalosa. Se despidió de la noche. El huerto frío donde pensó, no se encuentra nada mío. Y de repente se sintió dichosa.
Thank you so much, Soledad. And now we will hear from Jose Enrique Delmonte, who will be reading Rhina Espaillat's poem as well. Jose Enrique is an architect, essayist, and poet. In 2009, he published his first book of poetic prose, Alquimias de la Ciudad Perdida. Since that time, he's written the collections Once Palabras que Mueven Tu Mundo, which was the winner of the Ibero-American Poetry Prize at the Madrid Book Fair, Habitantes del Tedio, La Redondez de lo Posible, which is forthcoming in translation from Mad Hat Press, translated by Susan Dickey, and which also won the 15th International Poetry Prize, Leon Felipe in Tabara, Zamora, Spain. Jose has published studies on the Dominican poet Tomas Hernandez Franco and the prologue to the author's book in the Classics collection of the National Publishing House. He participated as a speaker and poetry reader at the Madrid Book Fair in 2019. In fall 2021, a bilingual book, and this is the one we were talking about earlier, will be released by Mad Hat Press, The Roundness of the Possible, La Rondez de lo Posible. And Jose is currently writing a collection of poems that addresses aspects of violence and marginality. And welcome, Jose, to read one of Rhina's poems.
Hello, everybody. I'm very, very happy to participate this afternoon to this program in honor of Rhina Espaillat. Rhina is our friend, our model, our orgullo in Spanish, orgullo. He's a wonderful person. I'm very happy, Rhina, about you. I will read in Spanish. Quise olvidarte, Dios. Susan Dickey will translate it later. Quise olvidarte, Dios, porque me hería. Me agobiaba el dolor de tus criaturas clavadas a la tierra. Y no quería ni comprender ni perdonar la dura caricia de tu silencio. En los estrechos caminos del alma te acechaba con mi carga de anhelos y despechos, dudas y celos que jamás calmabas. Quise alejarme, Dios, por no entregarme ciega a tu voluntad, por fiel al mundo que amaba y conocía como mi carne, por temor a lo extraño y lo profundo. Quise negarte, Dios, y no sabía que era en tu pensamiento que vivía.
Thank you so much, Jose Enrique. Next, we'd like to hear some original work from Juan Matos, which, if we might, unmute him. We're also going to try and do a screen share of the Spanish version as he reads them in English. So please bear with us if there's any technical mess-ups. Shall I get it up on screen as you go ahead?
I
Juan?
am ready. I'm assuming that you will be able to share the screen, or I just can read it in English. It's going to be okay.
Let me see.
Okay.
How does that look?
Excellent. Once again, it's an honor to participate in this wonderful event dedicated to Rhina Mai, Rhina Espaillat, and from the bottom of my heart to all the diaspora writers and people who love poetry and survive out of the nature home. On the diaspora, it may be that by the white side, we will lie broken, empty in the corners of forgetfulness. It may be that the rain of the absurd will suck us through and through, or that the eye of the other will find us dry, blind, alone. I'll tell you this, beyond the South and its oversights, beyond the North and its contempt, we exist. Beyond the yellow of pale leaves, the excluding agendas of one-eyed reporters, we exist. We are more than distant voices. Today, as it was yesterday, the word is a sword, an emblem, the fog of our winters, plural entity, memory, actions, presence. I'll tell you, there is no scattering this identity. Por la diáspora, the glorious diaspora. And now on these days of uncertainty, it is imperative that we continue going ahead. And the message is just simple. Don't be afraid. Dialogue for one. Those poems are contained in my book, The Men Who Left, and the translations, happily, from Rhina Espaillat. Dialogue for one. I do not fear beginning once again. I do not fear the night without protection, because the day wove trenches over me. I do not fear beginning once again, breaking the rhythm of the hours to tell myself the morning has come late and I don't care what weather to expect. Why should I fear beginning once again? Ignoring death is how freedom is won. Ignoring death is how freedom is won. Why change myself to what can only bind me? I will not fear beginning once again. I must not fear. No, no, I do not fear. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. Such a great honor participating in this wonderful New Orleans Poetry Festival. And thank you, Lit Balm, for organizing such a wonderful, and I'm very proud of being part of it. Blessings.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. And I think that worked rather well with the poems on screen now. Next, Soledad will read 2 poems of her own in Spanish, and Susan Dickey will translate. Look forward to this.
Yes, thank you, Mark, again. And Susan so kindly that she's going to read my poems in English. In English, she translated and have Rhina was helping her too. So thanks both of them, of her. The first poem is from my book, Estaciones Íntimas, and the title is Al Desnudo. Frente a ti han ido cayendo uno a uno los velos que me cubren, y el fulgor, la fábula arrebatada que fui, como flor de sal en el agua, se han perdido. mira la antípoda impía de lo que deseaste. Bajo la luz, que no tiene escudo ni vuelta, mírame las astillas del hombro, las uñas sin consuelo, la almendra del vientre trocada en cuesco exangüe, el sexo donde el deseo depositó su tibieza líquida, una medusa prensada entre tablas. Desnuda estoy del desnudo que me disfraza. Mis ojos ya no son el fanal de tus viajes nocturnos. De mis senos no mana la leche que te alimentaba, y en mis sienes no pastan furias ni caballos. Ah, las imágenes que perseguí y perdimos. La lumbre efímera, la imposible divisa destrozada. Pero al final del día, mi corazón es la casa donde te acojo, sin velos, con dulzura de amapola.
Naked. Before you one by one, the veils that cover me have fallen, and the glow, the impetuous fable I was, like a salt flower in water, has been lost. Look at the impious antipode of what you desired. Under the light, it has neither shield nor turn. Look at the splinters on my shoulders, the unkempt nails. The almond of the belly became a bloodless pit. The sex where desire deposited its tepid liquid, a jellyfish pressed between boards. Naked I am of the naked that disguises me, and my eyes are no longer the lantern of your nocturnal ventures. The milk that nourished you does not come from my breast, and no furies or horses graze at my temples. Ah, the images that I pursued and we lost, the ephemeral light, the impossible emblem ruined. But at the end of the day, my heart is the house where I receive you, without veils, with the sweetness of poppies.
Thank you so much, Susan. And thank you, Soledad. Next we'll hear some originals from Jose Enrique Delmonte, and Susan will read the translations. Please go ahead, Jose.
My fourth poem, so whenever you think it would fit in, right, just yell.
Okay. I will read a new poem from my new book, La Palabra Más Larga. This name is al menos Bill Evans. La muerte burla la sombra de los álamos como hebras que se tuercen en la risa. Dejé mis poemas donde posé una vez el pie. Vi albatros caer en picada. Un pez se les escapa. Ahora ríe en el murmullo del mar. Si supieras, hay noches en que el firmamento se comporta como un as. Lo sé. Guarda el secreto de esa dimensión donde yo también río. Quisiera amordazar este vacío, flotando sobre Bill Evans, como si fuera un testamento. Repetir, peace, 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 peace. Desvanecerme y ser un quejido. Dormir sobre la espuma, besar la rama que resiste y cae. Nada es tanta sustancia como para no ser una parte de ella. Yo recuerdo tus manos en mis manos y supe que el infinito era posible.
At least Bill Evans. Death mocks the shadows of the poplars, like fibers twisting in laughter. I left my poems where I once set my foot. I saw an albatross plummet. A fish escaped from him and now laughs in the murmur of the sea. If you only knew, there are nights when the firmament behaves like a beam. I know. It keeps the secret of that dimension where I also laugh. I wish I could muzzle that void floating over Bill Evans as if it were a will and repeat, peace, 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 and vanish and become a plaintive cry. Fall asleep over that wave where I become foam each day, to kiss the branch that resists and falls. Nothing is substantial enough to resist becoming part of death. I remember your hands in my hands and learned that the infinite was possible.
Thank you. And Jose Enrique, did you want to read one more? Was there one more poem or just the one?
I can read the second, 1 second. El viento muerde. Si abres la ventana, penetrará el bisonte y te arrastrará hacia crudos hemisferios. Jugar a celuloide con el viento, tus dedos atrapando los idiomas que roban. Atravesar tus precipicios, verle los tentáculos al vendaval que se alimenta de arena, de rosa o de salvia. El viento muerde y calla y raja los codos de las mieses y navega y se devuelve. Mirada y viento anidan agonías, construyen paralelos a la orilla, se agrandan las islas. Llamo al bisonte con las manos y duermo al lado de su carne.
Do you have the translation for that, Susan?
Yes, I have it right here. The wind bites. If you open the window, the buffalo will break in and drag you toward crude hemispheres. To play with the wind like celluloid, your fingers grasping the languages it steals. To cross your peaks, see the tentacles of the windstorm that feeds on sand, on roses, on sage. The wind bites and grows still and smashes the elbows of the grain and navigates and turns back. Sight in the wind, both harbor death throes, construct parallels. On the shore, the islands swell. I call the buffalo with my hands and fall asleep beside his flesh.
Thank you for that lovely translation, Susan. And of course, thank you, Jose Enrique. And then, you know, this show was in dedication of Rhina Espaillat. And we're so delighted to have heard these poems in our Lit Balm and New Orleans Poetry Festival. Thank you, Rhina, for all your talent and your creativity of all these years. And thank you, Juan Matos, for joining us and in dedication to Rhina and reading some of your own poems, and Soledad Alvarez. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jose Enrique. We will be talking a lot in upcoming months.
May I say a few words, Barton?
Yes, absolutely, please.
Yes. Well, before I say another thing, I want to thank
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay.
There we go.
Before I say another word, I need to thank Marc for being such a good sport. He has been struggling with a foreign language the way I did in 1939, but he does it so much better. Thank you so much, all of you, for making me welcome. I really, it's going to take me days and days to get back down to the ground because I'm walking over the ground now. I want to thank all of you for your readings of my poems, with or without accents. I don't know which way I like them better. I think I like them both ways. The poem that I'm going to close with, the one that I couldn't find before, is about my beloved second country, which I came to at the age of 7 in 1939, whose people gave me a home, and the country itself gave me just about everything I have that is of value and has given me a future and a present. The protection of its laws, its gorgeous language, which I think in, its sense of unity, its sense of community in New York City, where I grew up, surrounded by people from everywhere, from all over the world, where I learned to eat other people's food and enjoy it, to read other people's poems and prose and enjoy it and understand it, to become identified really with all those other people around me. I have so many identities, I couldn't tell you right now just exactly what I am. I am just about everything. And at the same time, when I went back to my birth country, I found that there I also have a home. So no matter which way the airplane is traveling, I am always, when I make a trip back or forth, I am always going home. I'm very, very fortunate. I think it's fortunate to have 2 homes, 2 countries, 2 languages, 2 collections of people who feel like family, and so many identities. This poem is called Panorama, and it's a kind of history of the Americas, not America alone, not the United States by itself, but the whole double continent, which feels like my home. It is. And it's called Panorama because I'm starting north and traveling south, the same way the Asian first Americans did. Panorama. Bordered by space and time, cradled between 2 seas, gulfs, bays, 4 oceans, and 2 poles. A living gallery of every scene the earth conceives, inhabited by souls too restless for one landscape, who somewhere in Asia packed their tools, weapons, and tents, crossed the frozen strait eastward, and once there, spread south, far as they could, 2 continents. A spattering of dense green islands, then a shoreline like a sickle, and at last a spate of nations, kings, and tongues. Pale men who came to pillage stayed to tame the vast jungles and the plains they learned to love, lie, steal, and murder for, possessed by force, more mastered by than ever masters of. Ambition and possession set their course. America was place, but more than place, idea. A shifting vision of our kind, first fixed on wealth and power, lineage, race, but then at odds with an emerging mind in love with, was it reason or the law, or godly fervor shaping what it can, or something wholly novel, fresh and raw, begotten by an offshoot, a new man. A difficult idea, prone to mistakes, America. But stubbornly pursued, built and rebuilt again each time it breaks by longings so insistently renewed that they've become a dream, partly fulfilled, always becoming, a dream largely fantasy, a cloudy mission so intensely willed that hordes of strangers strive to make it be. How bring it to fruition? Let the strong temper their strength with justice, heal, undo, set straight the record falsified too long, Tell every story whole and tell it true. Let those who come as we came be received. Let every debt be paid to earth and heaven. Forgiveness asked and earned from the aggrieved, and wrongs be righted first and then forgiven. Thank you very much, all of you, my extended family.
Thank you, Rhina, so much. That was beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's upcoming with Lit Balm and the New Orleans Poetry Festival. Next Saturday, and also with the New Orleans Poetry Festival, we have what we call the Magic Show, which includes Dorianne Locks, Andrew Geron, Bruce Bond, Hank Laser, and Ruth Lepson. May 8th, we have Matthew Zapruder, Vani Capildeo, Andre Bagou, and Timothy Gager. And on May 15th, we have the Writing Resilience Showcase, where one of our initial co-hosts, Larissa, will be appearing with her showcase, which is Anne Bogle, Linda Cortez, Paula Churchi, and Sandra Cleven and Meg Tweet. So please join us for those shows. And I'm sure New Orleans Poetry Festival also has a couple of things to say.
Yeah, if you'll just go to nolapoetry.com, N-O-L-A poetry.com. We've got shows running for the rest of the month. We've got panels. We've got poetry readings like this one. Like I say, the next one up at 7 p.m. New Orleans time tonight is The Transgressive Spirit of Jewish Poetics. And tomorrow we'll have a Lavender Ink Dialogos reading with a tribute to the late Annie Bellardini. And then we'll have the Poetry Buffet, which is a local series here, and a tribute to Lee Grew, a New Orleans poet who passed recently. Yeah, and thanks very much for being here.
Wow, so Annie Ballardini passed away recently, or?
She did, you didn't hear?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
It was actually not so recently, but no one heard until after the fest started. It was in the spring. She apparently passed away of cancer.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So we're doing a tribute to her for if any of you know her, which Mark, I guess you do. She knew a lot of people. But within the Lavender Ink reading, which is tomorrow at 3, so the tribute part of it will start about 4, and we have several people reading her work and talking about her and stuff like that.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
Sure.
I'm so glad I can't stop. This is too much fun. I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that you are having a program on Jewish poetics, because I have translated from Hebrew and from Yiddish without knowing either language, although I did pick up quite a bit of Yiddish from my in-laws. And I want to say that it's wonderful. Yiddish should not be permitted to die ever. It's wonderful poetry. And I want to say that the best gift that this country has given me is my late husband, who gave me a new name, which is Moskowitz, a Bronx boy. So thank you.
Thank you, Rhina.
So that's great. I hope to see you all in just about an hour, right? Or is it 2 hours? Yes, 2 hours at 7 o'clock Central Time, right back here, actually.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you so much. And well, thank you everyone for such a wonderful show tonight. I'll say goodnight to everybody and hope that it gets dark soon so I can look at the moon and dream of poetry in Santo Domingo in love. Night, night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. Duerman con los angelitos. Oh, how delightful. That was out of